Hello, sir. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Great. You want to give us a little introduction, basically, for the YouTube video?
Sure. My name is Gremloe. I stream on Twitch. It's Gremloe. We stream Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. We do kind of like community nights on Saturdays. We mostly do like news and politics, a little bit of React stuff, some gaming. I'm a sociology student in Louisiana, so that's kind of where my, lens to view things comes from.
Okay. What's your politics generally?
It's interesting. I try to avoid the like ideological labels a lot because I find them to be largely useless and usually just as like, especially a lot of the younger people, they tend to, once they figure out, oh, I'm an ANCAP, I'm a anarcho-socialist, I'm a whatever, that kind of becomes their whole personality. But generally speaking, leftist is fine, you know.
Okay. Hold on, let me refill my lighter. Very important.
What on earth is that?
It's butane.
Oh, okay.
It's butane, and in this torch lighter's good because sometimes you go out for walks and it's windy.
Okay. Your space is actually very cool.
This thing, I just built this thing. Well, I've been bragging about it for like 2 weeks.
It looks good. You got a nice camera and everything.
Yeah, I'm actually in a shitty garage.
Okay.
Believe it or not, look at this. It's a fucking mess all over the place.
Well, the illusion is complete then.
Exactly. And then I keep breaking it. Like on every stream, I have to show off. It'll subside. At one point, I'll be like, yeah, background.
Yeah.
Whatever. But this, I just built this. Everyone in my chat's gonna hear it.
See, the real move.
Millionth time.
The real move is to get like a screen grab of your background, and once you've reached a certain like point in your streaming career, to get like a better studio, just put a green screen behind you, and to do the reveal, just take down the green screen and fancy space.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna do the same bit where I move the camera, except it's actually like a room.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Just to keep the branding up. All right. What are we drinking tonight?
Well, we are drinking my favorite type of wine. Technically, it's a mead because it's a honey wine. This is from a Hidden Legend brewery. I believe they're in like Montana or Minnesota.
Okay.
This is just a pure honey mead.
Wow.
But depending on how it goes, we might have to crack open another one because this one's getting low.
Oh, really? What's the alcohol content of that?
That's a good question. It's not that high.
It's like a wine, basically.
Yeah, 12.5. So nothing crazy. Mid-tier.
All right, so it's like a... Well, tonight I'll be drinking. My scotch is out.
Ooh.
And it's apparently very difficult to get more right now because of the strikes at the docks and stuff. But whatever. So today it's going to be some leftover cognac.
Ooh, fancy.
I don't really drink much. It's just because I get the pasties, and basically I need to. It's essentially lip gloss.
Are you like straight, or do you like a cocktail?
What for the cognac?
I mean, I guess in general, but you sure for the cognac?
Yeah, usually I drink them neat.
Okay.
It's usually the scotch, and it's usually just neat, like that. Room temp, slightly cold because it's in the garage.
I'm a Tito's in a Moscow Mule kind of guy.
Okay, what is this?
A Moscow Mule?
I've heard that. I've heard the mule thing. Okay, what is a Moscow Mule?
Generally speaking, it's just vodka or gin, depending, in a copper glass with ginger beer, maybe lime, maybe mint. Depends on where you're at in the country, because mules are different wherever you're at. But ginger beer and like some kind of clear liquor.
Okay, yeah, ginger beer, clear liquor. Okay, yeah, I guess I've been to a club or once or twice, and they had the Montreal Mule, but yeah, that's what it was. It was
A
ginger
Montreal Mule.
Yeah, whatever. They probably just take the same recipe and had whatever they had in the bar.
Yeah,
Okay?
Some people call it a donkey, but
No,
I think Moscow Mule is a little bit better.
So I haven't seen. I've only seen. I haven't been following you very long, right? But were you, were you a Hassan fan at some point?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been a follower of his content for a while.
Okay.
Um, are are we going to talk about the Saltine X
Oh,
discourse?
if you want to, I think people might be a little sick of it at this point, and
Eh,
I don't, it's not like a requirement or anything.
okay.
Although we could spend 10-15 minutes on it if you want, right?
I mean, that's up to you. I think whatever needs to be said has kind of already been said.
Yeah. What am I gonna? Yeah. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna add something. Oh,
Yeah,
if you haven't heard this yet, fuck,
yeah,
get ready to get blown away. We're gonna have this
yeah.
discourse for another fucking week.
I think me and Tiberius may have a discussion about it. It depends. He didn't really sound too keen to it.
Yeah. I mean, right now it's cold tea. It's
That's
cold tea at this point.
that's
Were
a
you
perfect way of putting it.
are you disappointed? He's gonna come back on the platform, I think.
Yeah, he'll be back. I don't know what was 7 days. Was it
And
Saturday or Sunday he got banned? I don't know. 7 day ban. He'll be back. It's
okay.
he's like background stuff that I put on after I stream and while I'm like doing stuff around the house.
And so the reason I want to get into that is because apparently he mocked you being a chef, a fake chef or something.
How'd you hear about that?
You talked about it on stream, and it's like
Hmm.
it's one of the when I actually tuned in between work things. I was like, okay, oh, this are you a
Yeah.
chef? Do you cook or professionally or
No, no,
no?
God,
Okay,
no. I
okay,
I have a chef's coat because my wife and I for Halloween I was uh linguine from Ratatouille
okay,
and I had like a chef's coat. So we did like a cooking stream to mark like a milestone for the community. And there's a debate between Hassan and his friend who also streams Will as to
okay.
what chip goes on a Cuban sandwich. Is it a dill pickle chip? Is it a jalapeno chip?
Oh,
So as a part of the stream, we like settled that beef, and I decided as a chef which one it was, and I went against what Hassan said
no,
and tweeted it at Will because I knew it would make him excited, and then somebody sent it to him, and kind of went from there.
okay, okay. So, all right, I see. All right, so you made it. you,
I
you
did,
you made it on the radar.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
a little bit of clout, just a crumb.
okay, that's fine. This is what you got to do, I guess. So you got to do. What's your main issue that you're arguing for or against these days?
For or against?
Yeah, yeah. What's your main position that you like taking these days?
Um, what I mostly focus on is a lot of worker issues. So the strikes that are going on with Kellogg's right now, we've been talking about that. Um, trying to get people out of like the alt-right radicalization pipeline. Oh, thank you. Um,
Okay.
there isn't like one sole issue that I kind of focus on. We do a lot of stuff on my stream.
All right. Alt-right radicalization platform. What's the? I guess who are the gateway creators for that?
I guess
Where
it
does
depends.
where does the funnel start, basically?
Well, right now, I think a lot of it stems from kind of the self-help pipeline, like the alpha male PUA, like I don't know if you know that
Okay.
term, pickup artist kind of stuff.
Sure.
You'll
Sure. I've
watch a
even read.
couple pickup artists from
I
like
read Strauss's book.
which book?
Neil Strauss's book, the game.
The Game.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Well, here's the Pua pipeline, I suppose,
Okay.
if you want to get into it, right? But Neil Strauss, at one point, he's I guess he's a journalist or author or something. At one point, looked into this. This was a while ago though, and he started following around this pickup artist called Mystery. Is it Mystery? I think so. Anyways, this is a while ago. I read it a while ago. Anyways, but it details, I guess, their adventures, probably in a I guess maybe slightly embellished light, right?
Mhm.
But in it is basically he was basically detailing like the life of pickup artists when pickup artists weren't as well known on the internet, right? And they're
Mhm.
just communities of these guys getting together to exchange these tips and stuff. So that's it, and it seems to be the starting literature for that vein of I don't know
Hmm.
lifestyle.
Interesting. Well, we were looking at a video today on it. I think it was like a Philion is the name of the YouTuber who was looking at some pickup artist stuff.
Okay.
But I had a thought. I think Tiberius and I were talking about how there's not a whole lot of social cohesion. We're very stratified within our current like political and social lens.
Example.
You know, to look at everything.
Stratification.
Stratification, or we're very alienated because of
Okay.
how
Yeah.
our society is structured.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we kind
I
of
agree as
have
well.
become separated through the division of labor that we have.
Right. There's a
But
big psychological distance between us and a lot of the things that we depend on to live. And
there
so
is.
they're not really these real things. They're kind of just these things that happen. We think about them as these like kind of ethereal forces that you can kind of fuck with at will, kind of like God, right? But
Yeah.
but you can't. Anyways, go on.
Yeah. Well, when I was talking with Tiberius, we were kind of going over that, and he mentioned that there's not a whole lot of like social clubs anymore. Like back in ye old, 60s, 70s, there was like Rotary Club, American Legion. There's all these like social clubs that, people within the community are part of. And I think the thought I had
Church.
today was like, it seems like social clubs, since they're no longer a thing, have kind of taken on a new form and been commodified through these like PUA self-help type seminars, where
Right.
instead of you're in a community within your own space, where you live, you're going like out of your way to find that with other people, but you have to like pay your way into it. So there's already like an air of exploitation from the start.
Oh, okay. Right. Because okay, for those particular types of communities. Yeah. I mean, are you against, I guess, the church in terms of
Like,
they used to provide this kind of service for people, social
um,
club.
you know, as time has gone on, I kind of went through like a cycle where I was very edgy, like r/atheist in my youth,
Okay.
and now I'm trying to be a little more empathetic
Hmm.
because I think the anti-theist mindset, and this happens a lot on the left,
Hmm.
can become very aggro, and I don't know. My general stance is religion, fine, but I think it should be heavily, heavily curtailed as far as like what types of institutions are allowed to become tax exempt, because very easy to become considered a tax exempt like religious institution,
Right.
at least in the States. You're obviously in Canada.
Do you know what the milestones are in the states?
You have to have, now I don't, not gonna remember everything. One,
Guesstimate.
have a
It's all
facility.
a guesstimate.
Yeah, I believe one, have a facility. Two, have at least 20 members, and three, like have some kind of like registered account
Okay.
to receive donations or something like that. John Oliver did a whole like report on it. I know John Oliver, big lip, whatever, but he did do a good like report on like how easy it is. In fact, they made their studio like a religious institution as a joke.
Okay. Okay. Don't worry about the identifier or whatever. Talking about
Sure.
other people and be like, oh, this guy's a this or whatever. I listen to people. You take some, leave some. Same thing for religion, for that matter. Like, I'm not by any means some religious person, part of a community and stuff like that. But I can still kind of recognize that in the past they've served as social clubs, they've served as educational institutions, even medical institutions. Right? They provided these kind of services for the an older world at the time, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'd be like, so let's replace what we want with what we want to do with socialism with fucking churches, right? It's
Yeah.
not extreme, but I mean you can still recognize that a thing had some stuff that was good and bad about it,
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think the value of religious institutions is that it does provide some sense of community. Grew up in a very religious community. I still live in the town that I grew up in, and my
Okay.
family's still very religious. It never felt to me like there was a sense of community when we went to church growing up. This was like in the 90s. It felt more like a weekly, box to check more than it did a community.
Yeah,
But
it
I'm
was a
sure,
chore.
like in smaller neighborhoods and smaller communities, it definitely did serve that purpose. And religious institutions have done great things in the practice of liberation theology and like uplifting marginalized people. That's definitely a thing. I think it's just when you use your your faith to belittle particularly marginalized people or people that you may misinterpret your text as kind of being against. I think
Mhm.
that's where I start to, drive a wedge
Yeah.
between me and that.
Well, again, I think what did you call it? Stratification. I think that also happens in institutions like this, where this message that you're selling people to get things done, right?
Hmm.
You have religions, right, and they start basically as rituals that communities get together. They have rituals because they get stuff done. Some of the communities survive and live to pass on these rituals, and these rituals get codified, and stuff happens to them. They evolve into, or they start developing into religions, right? But
Hmm.
the goal of it is basically, how do we get stuff done and survive in an environment, right? but
Right.
but once religion gets to a point that we're kind of familiar with it, it's moved beyond this point, and it's not serving really its original purpose anymore. It's taken on kind of a life of its own, and and that's where abuses happen, because again, you have this kind of separation between you and the other humans, that are in this organization with you, and you start thinking of them as just materials to serve whatever purpose that you've decided to rationalize for yourself.
Right.
So yeah.
And I think to your point, we'll do a yes and whatever conditions the people within that community, whether it's like a majority Christian or Jewish or Muslim community, whatever material conditions that that community exists within is going to be reflected by the fervor within that religious institution. And
Mm,
like the reason that we don't see, like, let's take the most extreme example, like Westboro Baptist Church. The
okay.
reason we don't see them like strapping bombs to themselves and like blowing up a Planned Parenthood, right now,
Mhm.
is because they're only a few layers of material conditions removed from doing the exact same thing that we see in developing countries like Afghanistan or what have you. Those faith-based mindsets that they have are
Mhm.
exacerbated by the conditions that they live within. That's why I really try and push back on people who try and like label any religion as like inherently like extremist. It's like, well, that's not really true, is it?
Right.
Because
How are people using it, and why are they using it? And
yeah,
then what reaches your ears, right? Only the
yeah,
extreme ones are going to reach your ears, because they make a splash on social media to people who don't give a fuck otherwise about this religion,
yeah,
right? So whenever you hear about it, it's going to be for a reason that you might want to hear about it. And unfortunately, the internet, it's like clickbait,
yeah.
right? So yeah, yeah, exactly. Unless you know what people are actually doing with this thing, normal people are actually dealing with this thing. I don't think it's right to judge.
Yeah. I don't know necessarily what the like the religious demographics in Canada are, but um we're definitely becoming a more secular society within the states for sure.
I worry. I worry that secular organizations, atheistic and I guess the science-based organizations, just fall into the same patterns as religious organizations. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it online, about or maybe you don't, or maybe you feel like I'm off base. So let me explain. Um, yeah, so I guess I feel like a lot of atheists who basically tout science as the way they talk about it, or the way when I see people when they're talking about science, they talk about it as with the same language, with the same kind of associations that you would talk about a deity, right? In that it explains all, and it's what yeah, it's what determines what's right and wrong, right? And these people, the scientists or academics, are the priest class of this thing. It's just that there's a lot of like eerie similarities, right? And that way, much like I guess I like talking about it because not that I worry, but wouldn't it be interesting if this kind of like atheistic, like science based kind of fervor, all right, basically just falls into the same pattern as religions did, right? And as soon as you kind of eliminate, or actually maybe even right away, because I don't see how it has like this built-in community, being close with people component, starting stratified right out of the gate. I wonder if there's not a vulnerability there to turn into these kind of abusive religious institutions with no like human tie, or with no necessity for human ties between you and the people that you influence. I don't know. Was that a
Well,
lot? What do you think about that?
I think it's an interesting question to ask because myself, Homozygote on Twitch and Matty Cakes, we're actually going to be having a discussion at the end of the month on the merger of politics and science and how many people who work within the scientific community and are heads of organizations that represent scientific findings do tend to fall into the trap of trying to become apolitical when science is inherently political. You can't escape it. Politics is everywhere. It's tied inherently to everything.
You think
Um,
science has to be political? I think that's maybe should it be political in your opinion?
Well, I guess it depends on how we define political. Do we define political as trying to achieve a political end, or do we see it as, let's say, one party will call them the Marmadukes,
Okay.
and the other party will call them the Flintstones. Okay,
Okay.
the Marmadukes don't want whatever finding comes out to affect, how the market behaves or maybe
Okay.
how commerce is done, and fears the impact of that, and perhaps any kind of like authoritarian measures that may be done, in the name of science.
Okay.
The Flintstones see, whatever these findings are as a potential threat to our way of life, mass casual possibilities, and want to go along with what is recommended by the representatives of those findings to achieve as low
Okay.
fatality outcomes as possible.
You don't think the Flintstones are also vulnerable to are also vulnerable to kind of the same politicizing and I guess let's see, ego-led um, guidance, right? In terms
1000%.
because while it might not come through the same thing, like putting up bullshit science or denying stuff, right? It might also come as like, well, listen, our things tell us this, but we got to tell people to do this other thing, okay? And because we don't trust them to act correctly, and we have to kind of lie to them to kind of guide them in the right direction for us, right?
Here is the question. So I'll take this in two parts. Okay, so let's go back to the scientists and the Marmadukes and the Flintstones. So the question of should the science be political? Well, the science, tells us that in order to achieve these outcomes, low mortality rate or low fatality rate in whatever it is, we need to take these certain actions. Well, that says that politically speaking, they agree with whatever, the Flintstones, at least on some policies. There's definitely going to be stuff that they don't agree on, but its aims are somewhat aligned. So the Marmadukes are going to say, well, you're making this political. Well, of course they are. Now, to the other thing I'll tackle is what you're describing is actually called the shopping cart thesis or theory, that when you go shopping, you don't have to put up your shopping cart unless you go to an Albies where it's like you put in a quarter and, whenever you put the cart back, you get your quarter back.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's not illegal for you to not put up the shopping cart. It's no one's going to force you to do it. No one's going to do violence on you.
Right.
But it is the right thing to do. It is objectively the right thing to do. And doing so shows that you can self-govern. If you cannot do that simple thing that is not illegal, it's, it doesn't do any actual harm and no harm will be done to you for doing it, then you cannot self-govern. So it's an interesting thing to think about, and it does kind of tie into
so if you just leave it around for no reason, basically, because
right.
I know in poorer neighborhoods that cart brings your fucking groceries home.
Yeah, I worked for a Lowe's. I don't know if they have Lowe's in Canada. It's like a hardware store. I did like a summer job for them, and one of the things we had to do was collect shopping carts. And every now and then we would see one of those things just roll across the parking lot and just impale someone's door. So that person not doing the thing that is the least asked of him.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah,
creates
you don't want you
disorder.
don't want other people to, you
Right.
don't want other people to you don't want to get rammed by some other person's fucking cart, you know?
Right.
Fucking put it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Why do we talk about that? Sorry, I have severe
We were talking
ADHD,
about
so
like the
I lose the plot
politicization
so
of
fast.
science.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. You make decisions. The Flintstones make decisions based on the recommendation of the priest class of their religion. All
Hmm.
right, and because it's worked for them in the past. There's good fundamentals. For whatever reason, their belief system really supports that this is a great idea, right? So and then they implement the priests implement they make models. They make models and implement their plans and stuff like that, and they implement their plan through their models in an environment that is infinitely more complex than their models could ever capture, and forces on it don't exactly, despite all the best intentions and despite being technically right, the outcomes aren't exactly what you needed, or maybe they are, but the secondary, third, the subsequent outcomes that get built out of that, okay, they have no control over that. So this is very short-sighted thinking, and even on the part of very smart people. And I think the fact that they're very smart makes a lot more people believe it. But ultimately, under those kind of circumstances, under those chaotic circumstances, our actions, however however well guided, are random in their
Hmm.
effect. Okay, and therefore and therefore, even if even if the decisions that we make, okay, satisfy all the fundamental principles that guide our religion, all right,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean that we actually know the outcome, the true outcome of what would happen.
Hmm.
And so it yeah, it worries me that, or it doesn't worry me. It's yeah, it'd be interesting to see that fervor, despite the fact that, I guess, I'm sure you could break it down even mathematically. Mathematically, their actions are still random.
Sure. There's always like an air of trepidation whenever we go into the policies that are made based
Mhm.
on whether it's mathematics, economics, sociology, or you know um, virology, whatever it is. There's
Yeah,
always going to be an air of unpredictability,
yeah,
but we have to weigh whether or not that unpredictability in not taking action, or what is going to happen whenever we do say, okay,
yeah.
you, the public, need to do X, and we are
Mhm.
going to either mandate it or
Right.
suggest that you do it, otherwise it will be mandated. So there is always going to be that, but that is, as politics and science are integrally tied, an experiment. We are
Mhm.
experimenting with our current social structure to see, okay, can the
Yeah.
public handle us
Well,
asking this of them?
well, that's the funny. That's one of the great things about this situation is that look, all the outcomes are random, but you have a problem. You have to do something.
Mhm.
You have to try something. So really, all the Flintstones religions do, okay, is basically give you a framework to be okay with doing something, right? Okay, are we going to evaluate whether or not it's okay, whether or not we can sell ourselves the idea that this is okay and go through with this, okay? And we've chosen this framework by which to evaluate, okay, how we're going to justify to ourselves taking a step that is basically random.
Mhm.
Right, that might basically have a random
Yeah,
outcome, and it's like it's how we've kind of fooled ourselves to just stop getting frozen thinking about things and fucking act. Because honestly, however you do it, that seems to be a very important factor in fucking surviving in this world, right?
exactly. Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
and in whatever, I'm Catholic, right? I
Okay.
take my kids to catechism. One of the stories that stands out, that parallels this, I might murder it, okay? But Moses and the Israelites are marching through the desert and stuff, right? And they're like, how the fuck are we going to feed ourselves, right? We're in the fucking desert, guy. All right. And anyways, I don't remember what the words were in English. C'est la man. It's like, say, some kind of like substance that you can make like a basic bread out of. Basically
Unleavened
manifest.
bread.
Yeah, possibly manifested in the desert, right? And that was like a sign from God to he would see God's with us and stuff. But the thing is that for whatever reason, the important thing was for the fucking Israelites to get the fuck out of where they were and make it to this other place for whatever fucking reason possible, right? And um, Yeah, and it's like outsourcing problems that are completely out of your control to God or something like that, honestly liberates a lot of cognitive power for you to focus on problems that you actually can control, right?
Okay.
Because there are things that you can't control. Okay, whatever. How are we going to do this? I don't know. But either way, we go back, we're dead. We go this, we're dead. There's no point in fucking obsessing about this. Okay, it might or might not happen. Leave it to God. All right, take care of that, and you help me dig this fucking hole because we got to sleep somewhere tonight.
Yeah,
All right.
there is. I mean, religion has always been used to kind of fill in the gaps of knowledge that we don't yet have the ability to understand. Why, you know, why does the sun, ebb and flow
Mm-hmm.
through the sky? And we later discovered that's not, sun god. It's, because we're on a ball flying through space. You know, why do, why do women make baby? Well, it's not just because seed. It's because of a complex,
Yeah, yeah.
agglomeration of
There's a lot of stuff
biological
going on
factors.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So religion can be a kind of a guide through the time. I don't know if we've necessarily reached the point within our societies that, we can kind of move on from that, but there
Mhm.
does seem to be kind of a downward trend of religious,
Right.
sentiment throughout time as more and more questions are answered.
Well, not
We
really. If you look at how if you have the viewpoint that you agree with my kind of assessment that even the science-based cult, okay, acts like a religion, then it's still there. It just worships a different god, you know?
what God though?
No, no, well, the god of secularism and science,
Okay.
right? Because a lot of the people touting science, normal people, not actual scientists, who study very specific dynamics, right?
We're talking
I'm
about
not.
the layman.
Yeah, people who just like, yeah, it's science, science says you're wrong or something like that.
Okay.
You don't understand anything. Just like people needed priests to understand the Bible. You know, uh, you're not making you're making a judgment on something that basically sounds good, right? And you saw some materials that convince you otherwise. But unless you're like entrenched in it, you don't really know what the fuck is going on.
Okay.
So much like that, you're kind of like one of the denizens of these religions, right? Do you see how the structures are very similar in how people use these things?
I can see the sentiment, but I suppose to the everyday person who's perhaps, just a high school graduate and working class, doesn't necessarily have time or never pursued higher education, doesn't really understand the complexities of like epidemiology and whatever. Um, the base level of understanding and trust within our institutions is part of being within any kind of societal organization. No, we have institutions that take care of our environment, our clean water. We every time we turn on the tap, we're taking a leap of faith that the Department of Water has ensured that it is safe to drink.
Yeah. Do you think we trust those institutions more than we did 50 years ago?
I don't know. There's always a group of people who collects their rainwater and doesn't rely on government or city power or whatever. There's always people like that, but I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact that everything that we engage with, every piece of material thing in our lives, this wine, this glass, this mic that I'm speaking in, this computer, it's all created by someone who put their labor into it, and there's a system that has gotten it to us. I think people just expect that when they go to a grocery store, food is going to be there because that's where the food is. And they
Right.
don't think, well, there's a complex like chain of actions that happens to get that to my kitchen cabinet.
Right. You
And
don't need to think about that. You just need to deal with your problems. Food's going to keep falling from the sky.
right,
Okay. I
there's a
just need to
lack
dig
of
this hole. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lack of being conscious of, that strata that you exist within and where you are within it.
I think, yeah. All right. Yeah. There's a lack of being, yeah. Oh, you're right. There's a lack of being conscious of this strata. And then you tend to think that your world is the whole world.
Yeah, and I think that the thinking very individually, like with only within your bubble, I think that's very dangerous because it sows disorder. It sows like alienation and distrust of other people and things that may be different because they exist outside of your space. Well, that shouldn't matter to me, and that seems dangerous. I'm not used to that, and I don't really know how that works. So it's I think it's very detrimental, and trying to instill that awareness is something that I at least try and do on my channel.
Wait, the awareness of sorry, explain the awareness of what exactly
The
again? I know you
awareness,
just-
or that consciousness, is what I'm trying to say. Being aware of like that we are, unironically, living in a society, and that there are a vast array of things that keep this thing together, and knowing where you are in that.
Hmm. Knowing or not knowing is the benefit.
Well, I want to fix the not knowing.
You want to fix the not knowing. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's useful information for a person doing their day to day?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Like, what kind of decisions can you make locally in your life that?
Well, the Karen phenomena is
Okay.
one thing that we've kind of noticed in our current culture, or within the last 20 years. The Karen is oblivious, either willingly or unwillingly, of the connection that she has with the person she is being a Karen to. She does not understand that that person behind the counter that they're berating is a family, just trying to make a wage,
Right.
just,
Okay.
going through likely the same thing that they're going through. But because she lacks that consciousness, she lashes out. The kinds of pressures that same person that she's lashing out at feels, she's taking those internalized feelings and putting them onto someone else, instead of recognizing
Right.
that they are both going through the same thing.
Right. Yeah. They're both going through. Yeah. They're both going through an issue. Why would you possibly get mad at someone
Exactly.
serving you at the counter just doing their job? You
Yeah.
must be mulling something else in your head.
Yeah.
And
Like,
now you're taking it out on this person who probably has their own shit to go through.
yeah. Like, I don't know if you do this, but if I go to a restaurant and I say like, hey, no sour cream on my, chicken tacos, please, and it comes back with sour cream, I'm not sending it back. I'm not wasting that person's time. I'm not going to make them feel embarrassed. I'm just going to scoop the sour cream off and I'm going to eat the residue, even though it's going to make me gag.
Okay, I'll send it back. I'd send it back. I'd be well, yeah. Because look, hold on. Wait. Am I sending back the whole plate or just like a fucking thing of sour cream or whatever?
Well, I say
okay. Well, you have extra sour cream.
Yeah.
All right.
The
Well, as long
order
as you
did
don't
not
charge it
come
for me.
as
As long as you don't
specifically-
charge me for it. Okay,
yeah.
I won't make a big deal about this.
Yeah, if it's an upcharge, sometimes depending if I'm in a rush, I'll just eat the upcharge. It's whatever. But if it's like something did not come to me the way I wanted it, I'm not making a big deal out of it. Sometimes I'll order a pizza and it'll come completely wrong, and I'll just be like,
I disagree. You know what? Here's our fundamental disagreement. No, I will send it out, okay, and I will do this, but I will tip. I do tip very well. When someone it's like, look, I'm here to get you your food. Make sure you have a good time. You do that, all right? And I tip very well, okay, because it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable.
What's
Yes,
your percentage?
20 to 25.
That's generous.
Service.
That's pretty good.
For good service.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. A lot of people say 12, and I don't get that.
Well, I mean, the custom here is to tip the taxes, and we get taxed 15%. Okay, so that's usually the minimum, that you do. But whatever. I don't go out much. When I do go out, I go to places that are pricier, right? And that's it. I mean, you're making me pay this big fat bill for a steak that, quite honestly, I probably make a better one. Okay, personally. Okay, I love making steak. We like cooking here, right? But I don't feel like cooking tonight. Fuck it. Okay, pamper me. Okay, so yeah, I will be. I guess I will be a stickler to service. Sometimes my wife says that I'm being insensitive, and I don't mean to be. That's just how I am. I do that with people I love, right? And it's a problem. But I'll tip well, and I'm not actually trying to be an asshole. Although my wife says I come off as one, but I'm really not trying to.
What do you think of the like the tipping culture? Like, because I'm not a fan of it.
Tipping culture. What do you mean tipping culture? Like,
well, I don't know if this exists in Canada. Again, we're operating from two different perspectives.
Right. That's why I asked you what do you mean exactly.
So in the U.S., the minimum wage for wait staff is $2.30 an hour. Jesus. Now, yeah, $2.30, and then they get their tips. And what they'll do is, if your hourly wage and your tips by the time pay period comes around exceeds minimum wage, $7.50, then they won't pay you anything per hour, and it's just your tips.
Wow.
Yeah. So I find, and this like goes back. There's a lot of history behind that. It has to do with the mafia, but
Yeah, I feel
I
like
would rather just
do
pay
your
people.
job, and if you do a good job, you get the tip.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
or we just pay them.
yeah.
Like that just makes sense to me. We just pay them. Don't worry about the tip. Why would we ask the customers to, outside of paying their their
Sure.
bill,
Yeah.
subsidize the employees?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, why can't it just be the cost?
Yeah.
And no one has to have this uncomfortable like kind of what surcharge do I put on based on how I feel
Yeah.
right
Also,
now?
someone in my chat just pointed out it's not $2.30, it's $2.13.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh boy, just a little extra kick. Yeah, you know what?
America, yeah.
Okay, I heard about it, but yeah, no one. I guess whatever. It's not like I paid attention, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah,
There's a
think about
long
that. You're right.
history with it. It's awful.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, I get it. Sorry, you said the mafia, and I totally get it. Right? It was like, yeah, just
Yeah.
if
So,
they,
hey,
they
kid, sorry, you gotta work for them tips, eh? Maron.
hmm, okay, huh, tipping culture. Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, it is weird. I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Now in
I don't
Europe,
know. I like tipping. It's not that I like tipping. I tip regularly.
it does
Okay,
feel
like
good whenever you give a good tip, though, doesn't it?
you know what? You know what? You know what sucks? Sometimes I get a bad service and I begrudgingly tip 10%
Yeah, but it's the
out
right
of
thing to do.
habit. Out of habit,
It's
right?
the
Unless
shopping cart theory once again. It is the right thing to do to give them a decent tip, but sometimes you just want to leave it in the next parking spot, don't we?
well, it's just look, if you clearly just well no, that's a I'm gonna tip because I know people are honestly I know people might be having a rough time, okay,
Mhm.
and they're probably not paid
Yeah.
very well, so
Yeah.
I put
We
in
don't
my
know
tip.
what they're going through
Yeah,
that
exactly. I
day.
put in my tip unless they've been like a fucking jackass, you know?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
and yeah, then you can fuck off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
You can get
but
15 instead of
that
20.
happens rarely.
What I found out recently, I think it was someone in my chat. I have a lot of like international viewers. Is that tipping in countries like in Europe that it's not a thing is expected of tourists. Like if you're an
Okay.
American going to like Italy and you
Mhm.
go eat at a restaurant, they do expect you to tip because you're an American.
Oh my god.
Yeah, keep that
That's
in mind.
sounds like a scam.
It is. It is.
Stupid Americans.
Yeah, they're taking
Just
you
tell
for a
them they
ride.
have to. Tell them they have to. They give you more money.
Is that your Italian?
No, it's French.
Okay.
It's like
Um.
French from France speaking English.
Okay.
Eh,
Well, interesting thing. I'm in Louisiana, and that's like the French state in
yeah.
America.
Yeah. I'm
And
from
there are
Quebec.
so few people that actually speak French, and the few that do speak this muddled down dialect of French that is unrecognizable.
Okay, right.
Very weird. Like,
My French is so I wasn't speaking French. Jesus. First of all, okay, look, if you want me to do accent, if you want me to do accent, ethnic accent, okay, first of all, I do this one, okay, is Quebec accent, Quebec guy speaking English. I do it very well because it comes naturally to me. I grew up around this all the time, okay, and I'm allowed. It's my culture, it's my ethnicity, so I can totally do this completely bigoted accent toward my own culture.
are you a Bloc Québécois fan?
A fan? No, I'm not a Bloc Québécois fan, but I did vote for them.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, look, I don't like separatism. Okay, what are you really doing here? Okay, I get it. I like provincial autonomy. Okay, I think this is good cause because it fragments things and stops like structurally. I like decentralized more. Okay,
Okay.
broadly. Okay, we can get into the specifics some other time, but so on that note, it's like, and everyone criticized the Bloc Québécois. They say they don't have national platform. They're a separatist party, right? But I think actually it's perfect. It's perfect national platform, the decentralization platform, right? Because other provinces, if they have movements like this in their territory, they can get in on it. And what kind of decentralized fucking platform would be centralized in one party? It's philosophically inconsistent. You know?
Interesting. I don't know anything about the larger body politique of Canada, but I find it very entertaining. I watch not I don't know if when was your last like election cycle?
It
I
was
feel like it
not
was
very long ago. It was in October, November, beginning of November.
okay. It might have been the one prior to that, where the Bloc Québécois and the NDP, I think it's
No, it
Jagmeet.
doesn't matter. Both elections were exactly the same.
Okay,
2 years apart. 2 years apart. Justin Trudeau get re-elect. Okay, you get re-elect another time for second term. Okay, and then COVID hit like 3 months later. So basically, everyone in crisis mode. Okay, Justin Trudeau, you think, oh, okay, well, I get, I run pandemic well. Go for re-election. Maybe I get majority. But then everyone vote, and basically exactly the same result. Funny because at one point I was looking for election coverage. Okay, and I look for 2021 election coverage, and I accidentally watched 2019 election coverage, okay, for like 5 minutes before I realized what the fuck was going on. Okay.
that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, no, because same candidates, same people, wearing same colors, debating same things. 2 years later, there's not much difference, you know.
It
So
kind of does feel like that's what we have. There's like little subtle things that are slightly different, maybe a new face, but that's about it. It's the same exact thing. But what I found very entertaining was the representative of the Quebecois, how his attitude towards the rest of the discussions was like, fuck you, I do not care about this Jagmeet NDP bullshit. It's only Quebecois number one.
You know what? Okay, first of all, I give you the Q pass.
Oh,
Okay,
do I have a pass?
you have the Q pass tonight. How about that?
Very cool.
Okay, good. So you make Quebecois jokes, no problem. I understand this in good fun. Okay, not
Okay.
being a bigot like some of the people on this fucking website.
Yeah,
Okay,
this is anti-baguette racism.
exactly. Right. No, but you know what? Actually, okay, I didn't see it that way. I saw him being actually a little more clever.
Sure.
But they ask him like, "Oh, why does Quebec get to make its own decisions?" And he made good point. He's like, he made good point, and he didn't make point I wish he had made. Okay, he said,
Okay.
Does Quebec have access to different experts than Canada? Do we follow different science or something? Why can't Quebec people make decisions on the same scientific institutions and research that you make decisions on? Why are your decisions better for Quebec, okay, than what Quebecois can do for themselves?
This is
Okay.
something that actually I ask myself a lot because in the US, we tend to think of the individual states as their own kind of nation states, our own countries. And I
Mhm.
find this very strange because I think of America as, a union of separate provinces that
Mhm.
all kind of interact with one another through trade and like social
Right.
exchange. And this division that we have along state lines is very strange. I talked
Mhm.
briefly about my plans for Florida, but that's, all memes.
Right. Right. That's right. It's like vaccine gun at Florida border. You
Yes,
come
yes.
in and out. You get shot up with many needles.
This is true. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Yes. I like this. I like this plan. You know why? Creative.
Yes. That's the key. It's
So
creative, it's fun, and, everybody wins.
right. So what you're saying, I think this is weird. This is weird that we circle back to this, but is this not the idea of a federation versus a confederation? That the states
Um,
have more autonomy
well, I don't
with a loose agreement between them.
well, this is kind of where my anarchist side comes from. I don't care about states. I care
Hmm.
about people. And
Hmm.
if we're going to still measure our societal organization along the lines of borders, then I guess we have to play along those rules.
Hmm.
And if one state wants to go with very draconian or archaic or
Hmm.
in the case with Texas, very misogynistic and anti autonomy decisions
Okay.
what with their laws on abortion, I
Okay.
don't think they should have a right to do that. Those people in
Mm.
those states who disagree with that, they
Mhm.
would like to have the access to some things that we do here. Why shouldn't they?
Right. I mean, okay, so that's it. Yeah, exactly. This is where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line when people in some other part of the world think, you know what, you're backwards.
Hmm.
You're backwards and we're going to make decision for you. Okay, why? Because we don't like how you do things. Okay, not convenient to us, and we don't like it. Right?
Well,
And then and you, if this is not your if this is something you're so uh, separated from, okay, it feels like it's coming out from the ether, someone you don't even know, who doesn't care about you, okay, come in and tells you, you know what, you can't do this anymore in your own life.
mhm.
Okay, there's something very unnerving about that.
Yeah, I'm not one to argue for like the immediate abolition of all like borders and like all nations are now part
No,
of
no,
one world
I get it.
federation. I would like to see that eventually, you know, it'd be very interesting. But or like to see at least what that would look like.
I'm gonna stop
Um
talking like this. People are gonna think like I'm a fucking GF guerrier
I was enjoying it.
Okay, well, you know what? I keep doing it. Let people
Yeah.
think I'm like the fucking racist guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mouths.
All right, perfect. Sorry, I interrupt you. I'm so
No,
sorry.
you're fine. You're fine. So as we exist now, yes, I would not like to see like, you know, Hungary with what's his name? Oh Jesus, Orban.
Okay,
Try and
some bad guy. All right.
yeah, some terrible dude. Probably incestuous. I would not want that government to make decisions within the country that I live within because we're
Mm,
currently existing within that context where these are separate. So I would like to, you know,
yeah.
see whatever happens within my country be, you know, the business of my country while considering the impact that things that my country, you know, participates in on other ones, like
Right.
how we engage in resource production and you know,
Right. Don't get me
manufacturing.
wrong. I not even me who's Mr. Decentralized. Okay,
Mhm,
think that oh everything should be as granular as possible. I think there are
mhm.
some problems. Okay, that are worth tackling as a collective. You know, and
Yeah,
actually I I'm almost like one of the things that's I guess a gray area for me that I'm like I can't believe I'm saying this, but I guess it's basically it's basic human rights, right? Like and I'm talking also like discrimination against like skin color or gender expression or something like that, right? And I'm like maybe as a collective we should at least enforce people's rights to be treated like human being,
sure,
you
of
know.
course.
So even that Mr. Decentralized, I'm just like I don't see. I mean, I can see that as being necessary. That's a risk I'm willing to take. How about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think there's a certain amount of humility in recognizing that you can be both morally consistent and hypocritical at the same time. You know, I can believe that democracy is, you know, the best path forward, and that's, you know, through incremental entryist policies that we can eventually achieve the goals that we want, while at the same time, I am a big fan of direct action. I'm not afraid to say, okay, well, you know, the Black Lives Matter protests, while 7% of them became violent, I
Mhm.
am 100% behind the actions of people who participate in, you know, dissent against the state when it is something I agree with. I'm okay with saying I'm a hypocrite in that way.
Right. It's just the smaller the state and the less guns they have, honestly, okay, is you know is easier to influence through non-violent means,
Mhm.
essentially,
Yeah.
and through I guess democratic process or whatever you want. Actually, I think democracy has its limitations, especially at the scale that we use it at. But qu'est-ce que j'allais dire? What was I going to say? I lost it.
Democracy kind of falls, plateaus at scale or at a certain scale.
No, you're making me think of when you're talking about
Oop.
Texas. Well, two things. Two things. Okay.
Okay.
Number one. Here's the other argument that I wish that guy from the Bloc Québécois had made.
Okay.
Okay. Because you have all these three other parties up there. Okay, and they're arguing about $10 a day daycare. All right, and pharmacare. Okay, and these are like some platforms that they'd like to see pushed on their federal agenda. But
Okay.
you know what? You know what? Out of all the provinces, okay, Quebec has those things. And I wish he had said, you know what? Here you are arguing about pharmacare, okay, and $10 a day daycare. Quebec has those things. Maybe we should be running your country. You know,
Mm.
I wish he'd thrown that back at them. It's like clearly we can make some decisions that are good that you can't get your shit together on. You
Yeah.
know? So I wish he had thrown that back in their face. But anyways, but I guess on the flip side, there's things like I guess people are mad that there's this Bill 21 right here in Quebec, and essentially it's kind of like the French. It's the French laïcité kind of approach to multiculturalism. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? Okay, okay. So I explain.
Okay.
Okay. So instead of I guess integrating people, what they say is in public institution, in publicly funded institution, you cannot display any kind of religious symbolism. Okay, we want it out, completely secular. Everything has to be completely secular. No hint of religion. Okay, so so if teacher has like cross on chain, hide it. Okay, no yarmulke.
Is there like a fine if you do, or
Yeah,
like how is that?
you either you don't get. There was a story recently that this woman with a hijab got fired because her hijab. That's the gray area. The hijab is like piece of piece of cloth on head. You know, it's the
Yeah.
religious symbol, or is it like cultural fashion? For whatever reason, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
it's both. It's both in a way. So where do you draw the line on that? And it's absolutely harmless. Okay,
Yeah.
but because it translates as religion to people, then I guess you have to ban it according to this law. And this law is like, I mean, in France too, they're trying to solve this problem. What do we do about these religions that don't like each other, right? Especially in like public spaces where we say, you know what, religion has no place here. It's completely secular, okay? And they take a hard line on this, right? But it causes situations like this where like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this stupid decision that you're making here? You know?
Yeah. It seems like a very I don't know if means tested. I would just call that lib shit. Okay. Saying that okay, so some religious factions butt heads. Some people find like women who wear hijabs like scary. Ooh,
Yeah.
because of 9/11, whatever. The reaction to that being okay, well, we're just going to ban all displays of faith from the public space. Well, that's obviously discrimination. You can't do that.
Well,
So,
no, there are also. I explained in Quebec. It's not just it. I mean, it doesn't just go one way. A lot of the things are one way because population. But I
mhm,
mean, at one point there's this church, or no, this is a hospital. Okay, it used to be religious institution. All right, and because of its origins, they have cross displayed between two elevator.
mhm,
Okay, and there were there were complaints like take this shit down. This
mhm,
public space. Okay, it offend me, and they took it down. They took it down. Then there was a big uproar. Hey, what are you doing? This place is institution. It's part of its history. It's taking things down for no reason, right? Cross
right,
went back up. There's one of the problem. Cross went back up. Women didn't get their job back from hijab. I
right.
think. Okay. Anyways, this beside the point. I don't want to debate Bill 21. I think it's a shitty way to approach multiculturalism.
I
Personally,
agree. I agree.
okay, that's stupid. Okay, my friends should be coming in. They should see all the all display all display of expression of faith. Okay, and they ask me question about it. But
Mhm.
we're uh, we're very. I think we handled this well in this house. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe some other people don't, but that's what I think. So I don't think getting them out is the right way to go at all.
Yeah. No.
But if you flip the script right, and let's say this was a place that didn't do, I mean, like if France can impose this kind of way of doing all over their territory, imagine like Canada has the same thing, except federal government is more towards the laïcité, the secularism approach, right? The stupid hardline secularism approach, and Quebec or whatever province you're in says no. We like to keep things open, not discriminate that way, right? But you get
Mhm.
imposed this rule from federal government. You'd be upset. You'd be upset. You'd be fucking
Um,
upset.
I don't know because it's a question of positive and negative freedoms. Let's say that someone from Toronto gets a job in Quebec, and I, I'm probably going to mix up how this law
Yeah,
is going to go just because it's I'm just learning about it. But
don't
let's
worry about
say
it.
they do the thing where you can't have your cross or your yarmulke or whatever, and they're a person of Jewish faith, and they move into the city. Well, now they feel discriminated against because they, came to this city to participate in its economy and its culture,
Mhm.
and now they have to, remove a part of themselves to be able to do that. I don't think that's necessarily okay. So that is where something I would say, okay, well, we need to have standards across the board where we say, you can't remove these things because they are, I don't know, in Canada, protected classes, it's a
Right.
religion.
But also, it's like it incurs like costs and lawsuit, right? Because you leave things open. This is liberalism. This is liberalism. I like liberalism, but here are some of the drawbacks, right? You open yourself up to that. Let's say you have yoga studio, okay,
Mhm.
and you have glass, okay, um, and then they say, listen, you need to block off access so people don't see us, right? And it's like, well, you could say, well, look, I can't do that. It's too expensive. Go some other yoga studio, right? But not if you're right to say like, no, look, I deserve to go to whatever yoga studio I want, okay, except my cultural or my religion prevent me from being in front of someone, so you must do this to accommodate me,
Mhm.
okay, and incur the cost,
Well,
okay.
that's a difference between a private institution or a private firm and a government, right?
Well, if it's in some kind of charter by the government, then the law says you have to do it, and
Oh,
then
well,
it makes
sure.
cost
Yeah.
of going business way up, and that's it. I mean, there's problem like this, I'm sure there's a lot of other complex relationships, but
Yeah.
it's like it's double-edged sword, just accept to be cut when it swing other way, that's it,
Yeah.
you
There's
know
always going to be speed bumps and there's going to be crashes
Mm.
on the road to making a more equitable society, one where people are appreciated and treated fairly. There's always going to be things that we get wrong and missteps and, outright blunders. Sometimes people get hurt.
Mhm.
So, there needs to
Exactly,
there needs to not
exactly,
only be like discussions about it, but we need to like try some stuff instead of just, you saying, "Oh, we don't know what to do." Well, let's try something, Let's do it in
exactly.
this area, see how it goes. In Canada, they did this in Dauphin with a universal basic income. This was back in, I believe, the 70s. They
Okay.
took a town of Dauphin, gave everybody the equivalent of $2,000 a month. They studied it for 3 years, and then the new provincial government came in, decided that they didn't want to deal with the expense, shut it down, and all the data got locked up for 23 years. And then someone found it
Mhm.
and went through all the research. Resounding success.
I remember they do study like this. They have four control group. They have people who they give UBI to,
Mhm,
and people who don't give a UBI to. And then those two have also two subgroups: people who get training and people who get no training. Okay,
mhm,
I mean they found that out of the four groups, what performed the best is the training. Okay, and the people with the training and the UBI, okay, they do better. But
mhm.
the big one was the training,
Yeah.
right? And anyways, UBI, not at 10:30. Another conversation we could have in depth, right? But I think at scale, at scale, if everybody do this at once, but I don't think we're ready for that. And
Oh, yeah.
this is kind of yeah, this is kind of what I want to say. Yeah, you have. You don't know, you have to try things, you don't
Mhm.
know what the outcome going to be, right? But if you
Mhm.
try things with everybody,
Yeah.
okay, at once, okay, and it doesn't work out quite how your model predict,
Mhm.
then everybody fucked and very hard to recover.
Yeah.
But if you uh, make barrier between I guess entities that can try something, then maybe it succeed, maybe it fail. You learn from what happened, but also it doesn't take whole system down at the same time.
Right, right. There's no like silver bullet. We're gonna, give everybody UBI. Oh, hey, suddenly poverty solved. No, there's gonna be phases we do. There's gonna be areas that benefit from it and areas that don't because of how we implement them, and some people are gonna miss out.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's a trial and error.
Maybe is the right destination, but the way we get there
Mhm,
doesn't. The way we think we are going to get there doesn't actually make sense at scale. Like anyways, I'm not opponent of concept of UBI. I
mhm,
I don't like the idea that money come from or money for stuff come from. Uh, entity that doesn't know you or care about you or have any stake, because then why are they giving you money? It's not for you,
You
you
mean
know.
like through like maybe like a capital gains tax
No, I
on
mean like you get check from ubiquitous entity, that everyone get check from. Like I like UBI. I like when small town do UBI. A lot of these communes, right? That
Mhm.
I read about have they have currency within the small territory, right?
Mhm.
To do things, but they have a UBI. They have like a currency given to them that they can spend on stuff within the community, right?
Yeah, because it keeps the commerce like self-contained kind of.
Well, it's some people to specialize, their labor. They don't need things as much as other things. So you have to customize how you spend your your tokens, basically. So that's why you give UBI instead of assigning people a centrally planned, because you don't know people problems. People can solve their problems. You don't have to solve problems for everybody. That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
I think
But
providing the right runway is the solution. You don't want to put the wheels on the car and your hands on, the
uh,
steering wheel and drive for people. You want to make sure that the road that they're on is going to get them where they want to be.
Okay, decent analogy. In small community, you give UBI. You see who you're giving it to. You see them on the street. Okay, you know what they're doing with it. Okay, you can see they're not in the street drugging themselves. Okay, and you don't even ask them what's wrong.
Mhm.
This is not gonna
Right.
happen when you're in this small kind of system. Everybody know each other,
Yeah.
but things like that they make this kind of trust in the UBI work, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, when it come from too big an entity, corruption, people will take it and you abuse it, but whatever, that's going to happen kind of everywhere.
Right.
Okay, but the thing is that is golden rule, right? Like
Right.
you have the gold make the rule, you know and the rule not necessarily for you,
Right.
not necessarily for your benefit, especially just a small package of people make decisions for everybody. They're in their own parallel universe, you know
Yeah, it does
and
feel like a lot of representatives because how insulated they are
yeah,
from
yeah.
the people that they represent, that they are completely disconnected from the reality on the ground.
Exactly. No, but they make decision, they go wrong, it go right, but then PR campaign later, you still in business. You
Right.
know? They say that's not right. That's not right. No one should pass to the next stage through this filter. It's they don't yeah, you can make right decision, wrong decision, but you just gambling with people's lives, and then all you have to do is sell it that you do good job. Oh, it wasn't my fault, it was the people who didn't cooperate with my plan. You should have to hate them. You have to
Right.
hate them, okay? And if you hate them hard enough and re-elect me, will I make things better again, okay? And
Yeah.
we're gonna get rid of those people who didn't listen to me,
Well,
you
this
know
actually kind of comes back to what I was talking about
right?
earlier on in our discussion about that consciousness, that those decisions that the people who are in that position make, typically the people who they scapegoat, be it immigrants or the liberals, the radical left, whatever it is, um,
Right,
they're just the same. They're in the exact same position that the people who are being drummed up into a fervor against them
right,
are also in. So that
right,
lack of
exactly.
consciousness uh, brings them to poor decision making.
Right. You make decision based on what this guy tell you.
Yeah.
What this guy tell you about these people are evil, right? But really they're people just like you. They have anxieties, they
Hmm.
have fears. Someone told them that this equals this. Okay, you
Hmm.
don't someone told you something different, you make different decisions.
Yeah.
Okay? But ultimately, why there's no there's no empathy for other people.
Yeah.
Just because they're not real, these other people. They're just the people that you kind of exist, but really you consume them through a screen or through a story, okay, or through something very non-material. And it's in that case, when you see people like that, they can be anything. They
Yeah.
can be anything someone else wants. And whenever someone tell me story or they tell me something they believe, I always ask myself, why is it important to this person that I believe this thing he's telling me?
Hmm.
right? As opposed to what they're saying. What they're saying, they could be right, they could be wrong. I don't know. I'm always listening for why is this important to you, and why do you think what's in it for you that I believe this thing, right?
Right.
And because at least that's information I can use.
Yeah. Particularly with media figures and those within the political sphere, like if you're a layman, just a voter, understanding and having some media literacy as to what they're saying, why they're saying it, what are their motivations for their particular angle. I think this is something that, particularly in Western countries, is devastatingly lacking. That we don't teach people how to properly examine the things that are being fed through to them through media.
You think it's just literacy? I hear this a lot. People have to be educated. They have to be educated. They have to have this media literacy to make more informed decisions. And I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible. I think in your life you have enough things to handle, and you only have so much bandwidth to consume information, right? And at the end of the day, just like religion helps you do, you need to act, right?
Mhm.
So you don't have time to just you don't have time to take to take a note of all the pieces of data and information that could and analyze this. You're not good at this, you have other things to do, so you have to make decision based on very superficial it basically you make decision like this. It kind of sound right, it sounds like
Mhm.
it could be right. Basically they made a good case for it sounding right. I mean, and that's how you fill in kind of the blanks. But I mean, this is not. And even if you have them educated and stuff, there's no way they could absorb the complexity of the world. Okay, when it comes to geopolitical bullshit, someone else is deciding for them.
Particularly within international politics, these things are almost impossible to fully grasp, especially if you
Yeah,
don't have the
exactly.
proper historical context. But
You're not embedded in the environment. You don't know the
exactly,
players. Yeah, exactly. Right. So to think that you're gonna go in there and like, oh, I need to stop these people because they're doing. Shut up. Someone told you that.
yeah.
You
I
know.
suppose I do believe fervently that education is a pillar of solving some of these issues.
Mhm.
I don't think that the American education system is very good. The state that
Right.
I live in is usually in the bottom 2 to 3. Sometimes depends on what year it is
Mhm.
in education. So it's certainly something that I try and push for. Media literacy, philosophy to a lesser extent, critical thinking skills, like these kinds of, and basic life skills. A lot of kids, they get out of school. A lot of them can't afford to go into secondary school or higher education, and they're lost. They don't know how to do a whole lot if they have the economic opportunity to do anything at all.
Right.
So I think that is
Right, no one showed them
part
the
of it.
example. Yeah. No one showed
You know?
the example. They show you, I don't know what to do. You know what to do? No, I'm loser too.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Google it.
yeah, yeah, Google. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Google it. You have internet, I guess.
yeah.
That's why I like the idea of one of the things maybe I talk about with people a lot, but it's why I like this idea of having skin in the game when you have people in leadership positions, right? If they make bad decision, okay, and they share your fate, okay, they share the fate of the people they make decision for.
You're getting into a topic I find very intriguing.
Okay, good. So if you share the fate of the people you make decision for, okay, then you make decision for them, and if they lose, you lose. Okay,
Mhm.
if they win, you win. Okay, but basically, why I think this is good is because by putting your own self on the line, okay, people who make bad decision get eliminated for good. They don't live to make another bad decision. They just get eliminated. And anybody who succeed in an environment must have some understanding of how things work.
Mhm.
Okay, because you could succeed, you get lucky, right? Okay, succeed again, maybe less lucky, but if you have pattern of success like this, like over time, you accumulate success in certain area or something. Chances are you have good understanding of the thing, but only if filter is skin in the game. Only if you pass through stage after stage, but if you fail you get knocked out, okay, for good. No retry, or maybe you edge your bet, maybe you take a hit once in a while, but always when you have something in it, and I
Mhm.
think that's a better filter for finding good leaders, or the good path. Because what sounds good to the religion that we subscribe to
Hmm.
at the time. Okay, might or might not be missing the mark. Okay, but through this filter, I think you're passing it through chaos. You're passing it through the complexity of the world, and in this way, it's a proper gauge. It's evolution. It's a
Hmm.
proper gauge of kind of what's adapted to the world. Okay, go. You were gonna say something.
100%. I'm on board with you. I don't know where we're what we're using for eliminated, but jail definitely. There we have one representative in the U.S., Joe Manchin, uh,
Okay.
Virginia, I believe, is where he is a representative of. His brother owns a coal company. His
Mhm.
daughter, through nepotism, has some high position in a pharmaceutical company. This is
Mhm.
blatant corruption. So jail, clearly jail for you. Like you're out. You're not going to
Right.
hold up these things.
How could you structure that position in a
Hmm.
way that if he make bad decision that hurt people, he will
Hmm.
get hurt proportionally, how does he put stake in what he's doing?
Exactly.
That's basically what it. Imagine if we elected leaders uh, based on stake. They
Well, do
stake
we mean
something, and
stake?
if they don't deliver, then they lose something. You know?
Sure, sure. There's certainly some kind of like consequential like system we can put in place, so where either it's you're literally going to jail, you lose like certain assets, something happens to you whenever you make a decision or do something that is perhaps illegal, and the consequences for you in our current system are pretty much nothing. You get some bad media, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
American
as
memory.
long as you can play the bullshit game well enough, you
Yeah.
stay to make bad decision another day.
Yeah, you hide through the media cycle, which in America is like 3 days, and then, next year you're right back where you are. So there are things we can do right now that can, put barriers to corruption. One, overturning Citizens United and Buckley v. Vallejo. This basically says that corporations are essentially people. So whatever contributions corporations give to politicians, that's basically just a private political donation, to someone who is sympathetic to the vision of a company.
Mm.
That is bribery. That's legal bribery. So get that out of the way. Any representative that holds stocks in a company, if you're elected, immediately they're all sold. I mean, these are just two things that we can do right now that can greatly curb the
Right.
influence not
Right.
only
If
of
you're in public service, well, I guess oh, okay. I mean, I get maybe it would work. Okay. I get the intention. And maybe I'm just being a stickler for my point right now. It's like you're removing the stake. You're no, you're not removing the stake. What are you doing? You're basically making okay, no, okay, I get it. You're basically making representative neutral, essentially. So you are in the public service, you accept that material gains are not for you.
Mhm.
Okay, at least for this 4 years or whatever. But mm, not even that, because you could go anyways. Yeah, it's tough not to crack.
2 to
But
4.
yeah, no, yeah, okay, no, but, yeah, tough not to crack, because you can see like how people. Anyways, I don't want to shit on idea, because clearly broad stroke like this as flaw, but I get it.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, because these are just two examples of ways that people who are unelected have outsized influence over people who do legislation, where their vote through their donation means more than my actual vote or the you know max $2,000 that I can give as a private citizen to that
Hmm.
that person. It's
Someone
just
in your chat, Mac Mitch, he's right. In French, we call corporation moral person. It's
yes,
true. It's absolutely true.
yeah. I that's a the French. What happened to you guys? You guys used to be
We used to be
uh
based all about freedom, republic. We overturned
yeah
the tyranny and stuff like that.
yeah
Then like a few years later, we get Napoleon.
sure yeah.
We overthrow or not me, but
Yeah, what was
basically
it?
French people over no, but
Liberty,
yeah,
fraternité.
by the time they do that, my ancestors are already in Canada fucking with Native
There you go.
Americans.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, but that's it. They overturn monarch. okay, long-standing monarch, okay, to get republic, and then fall immediately to emperor,
Mhm.
you know, before settling back again.
Well, that is the logical progression, isn't it? Because as we look through time, and this is something I try and talk to like people within my personal life about when I talk about how I'm thinking about what happens next. I'm thinking how we get to the best situation for us right now and what's going to come after this. Because the progression through time has always been that there is a conflict, there is a budding of forces that happens. We have lords and serfs, and then we have masters and slaves. Now we have employers, employees. This is the fundamental conflict that is happening in every societal organization,
Mhm.
and something is going to happen after this organization. What it's going to be, I would like to know.
Oh, do you think it will be another, like, basically the top guy and subservience
I don't think there's a
structure
silver.
again?
I don't think there's a silver bullet for hierarchy. I'm
Mm.
not. I'm not a crusty anarchist.
Lot
If
of
I take
people very
power.
comfortable, very happy in hierarchies. A lot of people. I'm not saying it's for everybody. Not for
Oh
me.
yeah, of
It's not for
course.
me. I'm more on the anarchist side, but a lot of people very comfortable with that.
Of course, and
Yes.
there will always be some level of hierarchy. Is what is the level of acceptability that we're willing to take
Mm.
on is the question. And I don't know what the next conflict of forces will be, but I'd love to know what it is. And that's the question I always want to, come back
Mm.
to, because this is going to end at some point. Is it going to regress into something more archaic? Are we going to fall behind and go back to something perhaps older, thinking that maybe there were some merits to it? Or are we going to find some new solutions? Maybe are we going to do Star Trek? Maybe that's the question.
Maybe. You know what I think? You know what I think? I think you're kind of seeing it already, but it's going to be the conflict again. Okay, basically same conflict, but it will be about people who accept technological implants and people who want to stay human.
Ooh, cyborgs versus organics.
Yes,
Interesting.
I think so because the technological implant will allow people to basically form their own community, and those who are resistant to it will have different
Mm.
kind of culture. A very huge divide, right? And questioning what it is to be human, right? Or be part
So,
of the collective.
so I think if we're okay, so we're talking kind of like a altered carbon Blade Runner type situation. Okay. So,
Maybe more like look, you see it with our phone right now, okay?
okay.
People on their phone, they are part of network, okay? We share we share memories, we share situations with other people, okay? But imagine technology advance, you beam thought right into brain of someone else. Right? In that
Yeah.
kind of level. Okay. You have implant directly in your thing. It's fully integrated in your life. Okay. And then imagine now you want to go to school, you want to go learn to build something with wood or something, okay, and instead of going to carpentry class and having meeting people and having classes, maybe it interface with your thing, you just download memory of best carpenter into your mind, okay, and then now you know how to do carpentry and you solve your own problems with that. But you have a bunch of people now who basically, instead of going out and learning and failing, they just get top three expert, beam into mind, okay, and now you're really controlling the narrative of what people think. But
Yeah.
you can kind of see how a collective like that start thinking the same way, start acting as a unit, right, and becoming more of a hive, okay, more
Well,
and more progressing towards more, okay, progressing towards more common behavior, common behavioral traits, common association. But then you have people who don't want to accept this in their life, and maybe they'll be resistant. I don't know how people actually take it. Okay, but
well,
they will see the world very differently.
I think that within that system, the fundamental conflict still exists between
Yep.
those who own and those who do not. It's not going to be people who choose. Well, there are certainly going to be people who are purists, organics that choose to, stay pure.
Hmm.
But fundamentally, what the crux of the argument will be is a conflict between those who have access, who have like the conditions ripe to be able to transcend their humanity, and those who do not.
That's true. That's true. The first people who will have access to this are going to be basically, I mean, if it still exists, the concept of rich people, right?
Mhm.
So right. So they have access first, and at one point they at one point they probably draw the lines like, no, this is our thing.
Yeah. Likely they'll cut off access. The benefits of, transcending humanity are so great. We wouldn't give this to the masses. They'll realize their position within the hierarchical order and rise up against us. We'll
No,
have to do a riot tax and give them some of this technology, but not all of it. We'll keep the good shit for ourselves.
I don't think so. I mean, think about it. You have that power. You're in the collective. Empathy. I mean, I don't know how empathy actually work, but it seemed like this would facilitate empathy. If you could, if you basically can have access to people's collective, also personal, moments. It's not just like I tell you how I feel,
Oh,
or not.
yeah.
It's not that I get mad because I don't know how I feel and I express it to you through anger. It's like, oh, here how I feel. Thought beamed into brain. Okay.
Yeah, so if we're talking about where we're able to share like somewhat of our conscious with others, then yeah, that conflict may be different, but we're talking about like galaxies away from where we are currently. But I think if as we get more and more to where technology is integrated with our physical lives, then it's just going to be the same thing that we currently see now. It's just those who have wealth and access and are within the right environment and condition to do that will, and those who are not won't.
Okay, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe
Are you
it'd be
familiar with Dune?
Dune, like people who live on Sand World with the worms, and they
Yeah,
they
Frank
farm
Herbert's
spice.
Dune.
They farm the spice to feed to the navigators, so they can navigate around space.
Yes.
I've heard of it once or
Okay.
twice.
Yeah. Well, I think a Butlerian jihad is what we're looking for.
Okay,
Yeah. I
okay,
think
that's where we're going to. Okay,
yeah, we make well, that's kind of ideal, but that's only like within like space feudalism. If we move to like space federationalism, then like Star Trek Next Generation is what I want. But if we move to a point where we're doing space feudalism, I think no machines that mimic the mind of a human, that's probably best.
okay, okay. That mimic the mind of a human.
Yeah. 'Cause that's
Eh,
what's in their Orange Catholic Bible in it's one of the commandments in the Orange Catholic Bible in
Oh
Dune.
wow, well, maybe a good rule. I don't think we'll get there. I think okay. Listen, we're gonna finish in 6 minutes, and I'm gonna stop talking like that.
Okay.
All right. um, yeah, we're gonna end in 6 minutes. Because I always hard stop at